I'm just imagining like the credits is just an endless scroll of various pictures of Tetsuya Nomura flipping off the camera.
It's just his belt collection and his jackets and. Yeah, what's up, everyone? This is Nick with Techraptor, and I'm with a bunch of the staff, and we have been playing Kingdom Hearts 3. So first off, let's just introduce ourselves and say how far we are in the game and what we've been playing on. Like I said earlier, I'm Nick, and I'm about 8 to 10 hours in, and I'm playing on an Xbox One X.
I'm Max. It says 21 hours in. I think a couple hours of that are a little bloated, though. And I'm also playing on an Xbox One X.
My name's Andrew. I've completed the game and I'm playing on an Xbox One S.
My name's Sam. I don't actually know how long into the game I am because I screwed up my time, so it says I'm 41 hours in, but I'm at the 8th or so world, which is the Pirate of the Caribbean one, and I am playing on a base PlayStation 4.
And I'm Robert. I'm playing the game on a PS4 Pro, and I think I'm at the last world, but it's seeming like things are wrapping up.
Cool. So it seems like we're kind of all playing on pretty much every available console it's on. Before we get started, has anyone had any like crashes or seen any like frame rate dips or like performance issues?
Surprisingly, kind of a lot. Most of them have been minimal, but like the game crashed for me once in a cutscene in the Tangled world, which was really, really weird, like just out of the blue. The game completely crashed and I had to restart that whole cutscene and everything. And then I get kind of a lot of frame dips. I noticed that even at the tutorial at the very beginning. They're very, very minor. Like I'm sure it's going to like 30 frames, maybe 40. But it's noticeable enough to where it just seems like the game is stuttering every once in a while. I've noticed it in every single world, mostly when you're running around. Like when I'm in combat and everything, it seems to be fine. I don't know if it's because it's like trying to generate all these huge areas or something like that, like whenever I'm moving through them. And I also notice menu pop-ups tend to lag too. Like whenever there's like a menu that pops up in the middle of the screen, it like slows down and looks like it's going at like a couple frames, then it's fine. And then it does it again when you hit like okay. So a lot of weird little things here and there, but nothing that's been ruining the game or anything like that for me on the One X.
Yeah, I've noticed whenever I go into a menu, especially like change out my equipment or something, the frame rate dips to like 30. It's kind of jarring. Like it's because I normally don't like care about frame rates, but it goes from like 60 in combat to like sub 30 in the menu, and then in cutscenes it's clearly at 30. And it looks super strange because everyone will be moving at like 30 frames, and then it'll transition to combat and it's like ultra smooth all of a sudden. I don't know how that is on like the other consoles, but on the Xbox One X it's kind of annoying. I don't know.
Yep. Robert, how's that go? Because you're playing on PS4 Pro, right?
Yeah, so it's the same concept there where cutscenes are 30, combat 60. I don't notice as many drops as I think Max is saying. I mean, there are still frame drops in combat. Like that just kind of happens, especially when there's a ton of Heartless on the screen and you're doing like 5 Thundagas or something, you know? Like it does slow down sometimes, but it's never been so much that I felt like it was an issue worth noting necessarily. And with the menus, though, you do notice like the same thing Nick was saying, like frame dips when you're pulling up the menu, going through your equipment, etc.
I'm on a base PS4, and I'm going to be totally honest. I have noticed no frame drops, no frame dips. I've never had a crash. So I guess I just don't notice those things, or maybe just doesn't happen.
I'm on the Xbox One S. I haven't been noticing that either. That it might be something. I mean, I can see how the 30 frames to 60 frames, if there was a clear cut between cutscene and gameplay, might be less noticeable. But the way that this game handles the transitions so smoothly that you'll be in the middle of a cutscene, the camera will fly up to be at a resting position behind Sora, and then you'll go. I can definitely see that there would be something in there. But I've had no crashes, no frame drops, even with, Thundagas, with the pirate ship happening, with who knows what else.
Is it running at 60 on the base consoles?
I think it runs at 30 in cutscenes and 30 in gameplay.
Okay, so that's where you wouldn't really see like. Have you ever played like an old PC game with a new PC and it runs really
doesn't
great?
have the frame limit.
Yeah, and then you go to a cutscene, it's just like slows down. Like that's kind of how this game feels, and I think it's on like the half step, the Pro consoles. It's going 60 and it's trying to hit 4K, so it's just a bit too much.
Have you guys tried? Because one of the biggest things that I really enjoyed going through when I first loaded this game up in English was going through those settings. Have you guys tried playing it all on the balanced performance mode?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I've only been on the like, not unstable, but I forget what it's called. There's
like
stable.
high fidelity setting.
Yeah, yeah, that one. That's the only one I've played on. So maybe switching to stable mode would work. It doesn't really tell you what they do though. If I remember correctly, it doesn't say if it limits or what it limits or anything like that, like other games do, which kind
I
of
will
sucks.
say that there's also the stable mode is an option for at least the Xbox One S as well. So it's not like other games that will like have that 4K setting and will lock it out. So whatever it is against all versions of the game, that you can have it more high fidelity or you can go for a more stable experience. But I'm just not sure whether that might make things better on the Pro and X.
It's also on the regular PlayStation 4 version, though I just left on default because I didn't feel like fucking around with that.
Yeah, I'm so lame. I always just pick resolution over performance.
Me too.
Because I'm just like, you know what? I got the setup. Let's see it in sort of 4K. I've had my Xbox crash a few times, which it's only done when playing PUBG, and that's super frustrating because I was like capturing footage and uploading it to my OneDrive, and then the whole thing crashed, and I had to actually go and like hold the button on the Xbox to restart it, and then I lost all my progress. Yep, and I lost pretty much like the half an hour I was playing, so got to redo the beginning of Toy Story again and watch that whole cutscene. That's really cool.
Hell yeah.
This will be the
worst.
So when we demoed the game at E3, it was either fighting the Titan in Olympus or the beginning of Toy Story, and literally all the way to the toy store. But you had to watch the entire intro cutscene. So like an E3 demo should be like 10 minutes, and it was like 45.
Oof.
And I remember sitting there, I'm like, yeah, I'll film Rutledge just off camera doing it because we couldn't capture. And my arms were dying. And I was still watching Sora talk to Woody. And I'm like, dude, this is awful. And there's a point in the video, I may have cut it out, but he looks back at me and just kind of like gives me this look like, is it still going? Like the first 15 minutes of that demo, you don't do anything. You just watch a video.
You gotta get that deep lore.
Yeah, I'm like, they should have just started it.
I kind of want to ask everyone here, like, how do you guys feel about the length of these cutscenes? Because I feel like they're longer than they've ever been.
It's not
Tangle
just that they're. It's not just that they're longer. There's way more cutscenes too. You like fight one fight, then all the characters have to comment on it. Then you fight another fight, and then everyone has comments again. There's just a ton of cutscenes.
Yep.
Yeah, I
feel
noticed
like-
in Tangled, it's like I thought I was watching the movie at one point. It just goes on.
I think that this is what they've done. I mean, a lot of these smaller conversations would be the type that we would just get in text box for previous games.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, it's going to take longer because they've got the actors, they've got Zachary Levi, and they've got whoever voices Rapunzel, Mandy Moore. Yeah. Like they've got these big actors, and they can deliver the experience of playing the movie. I think that that's what they were aiming for better or worse. I didn't personally have an issue with it. I really liked seeing, especially with how good the game looks, I enjoyed seeing what could honestly be you could replace some of these cutscenes from the game into the movie, and you might be a bit pressed to tell at times. I like that it was just watching the movie with Sora in, because that's how I've always enjoyed Kingdom Hearts. It's replaying through Disney movies that I love with this anime character.
Yeah,
That's true.
I think there was when one of the first trailers came out, there was like a side by side with the Tangled footage and the actual movie, and I think Kingdom Hearts looks better, if I remember right.
Yeah. There are even moments in the Frozen world where when I was playing through that, I just kind of put my controller down in awe, just like, wow, they really created this in a video game, and it looks so good.
Until you get to the Let It Snow part.
That's a good song.
Yeah.
It's such a good song, so let's have it constantly get interrupted by Sora, Donald, and Goofy going like, oh, what's going on, guys?
I do like that, at least in Tangled, and well, I'm still starting Toy Story, but like at least in Tangled, they kind of Sora, Donald, and Goofy take a little bit of a back seat.
Yeah,
It's
that
where,
does
like-
tend to happen.
Yeah, because in the previous games, it always seems like, oh, well, you're just going to do all the work, and then the actual hero will kind of like come in at the last moment. So it seems like it's better written for the Disney movies.
Some of them better than others. Tangled's probably, of the ones I've played, probably does that the best. Frozen, it's like sort of, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Frozen, it's weird to me because I've been in that world for a while now, and it's the only world where like I haven't really interacted with anyone yet.
Yeah, the Frozen world, 9/10 of it, you're on your own. It's kind of weird, actually.
Yeah. Especially because they have the full cast for that, and I haven't even seen Olaf yet, and I'm seriously like an hour and a half into that world.
Yeah, it takes a bit to get going, but
Yeah.
even the Disney worlds and Pixar worlds where they wrote their own script, I was kind of surprised with like how far they went with the story. In like some ways, it's like a sequel.
Yeah, like Monsters Inc.
Yeah, and like I don't know if that's necessarily canon. I mean, like if we got to Monsters Inc. 2 eventually, if they would be like, oh, remember when we did this with Sora?
Isn't Toy Story canon, from what I remember?
Oh yeah, one of the directors said something like, "Oh yeah, Toy Story Kingdom Hearts is canon. It takes place between the first two movies." Duh.
Yeah, it's how in Toy Story 2 they never brought up the fact that there was a brief period of time where Buzz's arm was actually lasering.
Yeah, that's true.
I think one of the big standouts, especially like putting best foot forward, the Olympus world is fantastic. It is so large, you can get lost in there. They do so much to bring you up to speed with characters, set up a bunch of what's happening, but just the range of not just Thebes, but Thebes and something in the middle, and Olympus and big scale battles.
So to kind of add to the Toy Story thing, apparently it takes place after Toy Story 2, and it's part of Toy Story canon. It was something that they had to negotiate with Disney Pixar to like get it into the actual game.
Amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
That's wild.
Also, to go back to Olympus, I really liked the Olympus world. It's a great intro, with the exception of it's super, super clear they couldn't get a voice actor for Phil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the most outspoken character pretty much in like any of the Disney Kingdom Hearts crossovers just nods his head. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of annoying.
It's pretty obvious they couldn't get a voice actor for him, and so they kind of just like tried to work around it.
Is anyone playing on Proud Mode?
I am.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Does it not feel that difficult after that first kind of slump in the beginning?
No, I don't think it's very difficult at all. I don't think Proud Mode was ever that hard, to be fair. I spend a lot of time in worlds, so I think that I sort of like over level a little bit, and that's why. But I've always found I died in the first battle, actually, like the very first one. I was like, oh, maybe this will be harder. I think I was just used to Kingdom Hearts 2, though, and having like all the upgrades and everything, because I had just jumped from 2 to 3. Like when 3 came, I was playing 2.
Oh, wow.
So once I got used to the combat in 3 and everything, I think it was fine for the most part. The bosses are a little long, which is fine. I don't know if that's because of Proud Mode or if they're always that long, but I wish it was a little harder, but it's not a cakewalk at the same time. Like I do have to spend some time in fights and everything like that, but I wish it was a little bit harder. Like Kingdom Hearts 2's critical mode was pretty hard, and I really liked that.
I think the bosses are long because I'm playing on normal. I think the bosses are long because they just have like boatloads of health.
Yeah, they are all kind of spongy. Yeah, like the Tangled boss, it's so cheap when you're on proud mode, just because I kept getting stuck, and I couldn't actually get up the tower. Or like Sora would get up the tower and then jump over her, and then land on the floor again, and I would die, and then throw my controller on the floor after the 4th time.
Yeah, I think my main thing with proud mode is they give you, like, I mean, this makes the game fun but easy. They give you too many situation commands almost, where pretty much no matter what, if you're starting to lose, just hit triangle to win or hit Y to win, and you're kind of saved.
Yeah. Because Sora does take a lot of damage. Like, there are times where, like, I'll heal up, and then I'll be stuck in a combo, and I'll have really low health again. But then, like you said, you just use one of those reaction commands, and you're fine.
I love Sora's, like, Heartless mode. It's overpowered.
The Rage form, which I guess is the spiritual successor to Anti-Sora from the previous ones. I think on difficulty, I think not only, I mean, everyone on the internet has been talking about how, proud mode doesn't feel as proud. But on top of that, there's also other changes from the perspective of difficulty that, I'm someone who will go through, and now that I've finished the game, I'm looking at the achievement list and stuff, that there isn't even an achievement for beating the game on X difficulty.
Oh, interesting.
So I plan to play through on standard to clear up everything on standard, and then would take a run through on proud mode. And I've beaten it on standard, and I'm set to 100% complete the game without even getting to hardest difficulty.
Oh, so I actually have a chance of getting the platinum this time.
Oh yeah, go.
I was just gonna stop me if this is going too far past first impressions, but I'm a little worried about replayability, because I remember in 1 and 2, you'd beat a world and you could go back to it, and there were a lot of things to do. Like, you were never really done. I feel like in this game, when I'm done with the world, there's not much to go back to aside from just finding the chests. And usually a lot of people tend to do that while playing through. So you usually have 1 or 2 chests to find, and then you're done. I feel like there's not much pulling me back to any of these worlds. I noticed this game is just a lot more linear than the other two. And it kind of makes sense because the worlds are a lot bigger and they have a lot more effort put into them. So it's kind of cool. It's just a bit of a difference there, because I remember in Kingdom Hearts 2, you'd go through a world, you'd finish part of the story, and then you'd come back to it later on, and there was so much more to do there. There was usually second stories and everything, and I really liked that personally, and I was hoping for something like that again in this game, but that could change, of course, but I have a strong feeling that that's not going to change, and that this is sort of just more of a streamlined, linear, very story-based experience that they want you to just go through in one go and then be done. And then going back is more for little things like treasures and mini games and everything like that.
I don't think that's spoilery to talk about that. For those of us that have finished the game, is that true, or?
There are mini games to go back to, and then there's also extra things. I'm not sure how much you guys do or do not want to know, but there is a reason to go back for at least a bit.
I think that's good enough then, that far. Then we're not getting into spoiler territory on that one. Okay, let's move on to, since we're kind of on that topic a bit, did the intro, that first 30 minutes or so, and that cinematic that plays when you first boot up the game, that I honestly thought I couldn't skip, did that kind of help bring the story together for you a bit?
So before playing Kingdom Hearts 3, I reviewed for Techraptor all the old ones, and as such, I completely skipped that intro and have nothing to add.
I think at a very top level, and it's the same with those 5 videos that Square Enix released on their YouTube channel, it does a good job to bring you up to the very bare plot of here are some of the main characters, here is the antagonist, here is his goal. But any additional depth of conversation, like who is Aqua, who are Terra, like they're referenced as three people who were lost, but you get nothing really further on them. So at a very top level, you will understand this is the good guy, this is the bad guy's plan, this is how we're going to try to stop it. For anything more than that, you're just going to be absolutely lost.
Yeah, and that kind of sucks to me because I remember in Dream Drop Distance, they had an entire glossary that like caught you up on the story and everything. If I remember, there was even cutscenes. It was entirely optional, but you could go in and pretty much learn every single game beforehand in Dream Drop Distance. And in this, like you said, it's just very top level. I feel like if I didn't play through the games again right beforehand and watch some just summary videos, I feel like I'd be pretty lost in this. Like those top videos don't even mention what like a nobody is, if I remember correctly. Like that's really confusing. Like Sora's sitting there talking about how there's three people in his heart. Like I can't imagine how that comes off to someone who is just starting this game or like who hasn't played them in a very long time. Like that's confusing as hell.
If you haven't really played the spin-offs, I don't think most people know who that third person even is.
Yeah.
Well, even someone that's played all the spin-offs, like there are parts of that game that I still don't understand, and it's just the plots. Yeah, it's a mess.
Conceptually, it's a very vague series.
Yeah. I will say they do a decent job with exposition in this game if you have that base knowledge. If you've watched a lot of the summaries and everything, they do a pretty decent job explaining a lot of things. Like I remember a little bit ago, Mickey and Riku, they just seriously just said, like, remember Mickey's like, oh, that's why Xehanort is doing this, and it goes into like a cutscene telling you exactly what he did and showing it. That's really cool. I don't really remember something like that in the previous games, so it does a decent job for people who are somewhat caught up, sort of explaining things extra.
I really like that when they show a previous cutscene or like a memory or something, it's the graphics from the HD remakes of the original games.
Yes, they've already got a big base of cutscenes that are for current gen consoles built together, so it's smart of them to use that.
Yeah, and it also helps like subconsciously, like, oh, okay, I know that this is a memory or a flashback because it looks like PS2 graphics compared to like the super high fidelity current graphics.
It's like the video game equivalent of like a film showing something in the past by making it black and white or sepia.
Yep, absolutely. There are like there's some exposition, mostly when Riku and Mickey are talking, where they will explain what's going on in a way. I still would have wished that maybe there was a line or two of dialogue, basically like the first time we see Riku and Mickey saying where they are and what they're doing exactly. Because if you didn't know, it'd be like, why are they at the beach? Why is it nighttime?
That might be like one of my biggest problems with the game, is for someone who is, maybe getting caught up in the hype of Kingdom Hearts, like, oh man, all these people are liking Kingdom Hearts 3, maybe I should try that out. Like they've never played a previous game. Starting it out without researching any of the story would be like getting in a car that's already moving at 60 miles per hour. Like,
I mean, that's we can't really say that that's of detriment to the game at all, because I mean, if you're going to be hopping into any game series, any book series, any movie series on the 10th version, you're going to get lost. That's Kingdom Hearts does a good job of refreshing players, but I don't think that it essentially needs to handhold new players, especially when, if you have a PS4, you can get every single Kingdom Hearts game in one bundle, like right now.
True. The other thing I think is a little weird with this game. So remember in the very first game when you wake up in Traverse Town and you see a guy get killed by a Heartless?
Oh,
and then in this game, like, you're in where the fuck is it? Where like Roxas and everyone's from.
Twilight Town.
Yeah, Twilight Town. And that one Heartless tornado comes and like rips up the town or whatever. And then right when it's done, everyone's just kind of walking around, and I mean, Hayner and Pence and Olette they're from the Bouncer, so I guess that is a Final Fantasy character in the game, or a Square character.
Oh, true.
But, like,
Yeah.
like they run off like, okay, well, we're gonna go to work now. It's like, what about all the monsters? Like, okay, guess we'll just deal with that. Like that stuff's a little weird, but it is cool seeing a town with a lot of people in it, like kind of doing stuff now, instead of it just being like two people standing around and you talk to them and they tell you about items or whatever.
Yeah. I like that at the end of Olympia too, how like it's all populated and there's like kind of little stuff you could do by talking to people, and everything like that. That was really cool. And seeing Twilight Town like recreated like that, like it's a lot smaller than beforehand. Like you can't unless it expands later. Like for me, like you can't go to the Sandlot or anything like that. You can only stay in the main area. But again, like I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2 like right when 3 arrived at my house. So jumping into seeing Twilight Town like faithfully recreated, like that one area of it, like down to the buildings in the exact same position, just so detailed. Like it almost brought tears to my eyes. Like it was so cool to see just how good it looks now with all the detail, everyone running around. It's all like upgraded and everything, and just being able to like run on top of the rooftops and just look at everything you've been spending so much time in the previous game. That was really, really cool for me.
It's not just the recreation of building 2, but also like in Kingdom Hearts 2, I don't know, Twilight Town had like this little alleyway that didn't really do anything and no one really knew what it was for. So in 3, they turned it into like a movie theater, and it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that the movie they're watching is it's like the mini games you can play, which are also on the mobile game, and they're just pretty much like Tiger Electronic type of games that are really extremely frustrating. So if you really want the game to get super hard, just play those for a bit and you'll go insane.
Yeah, I played the first one and was like, yeah, that's about all I'm willing to give this.
The giant one?
Yeah.
So in the mobile game, you can unlock a special Keyblade. You have to get 25 of those giant, like you have to get to level 25 on the giant. You have to get to like, you essentially have to master every single one just to get a Keyblade that apparently you just get in the game anyways. So I spent hours mastering this crap and then couldn't finish it, and like looked up like, oh, is the Keyblade worth it? And then everything just said, oh, well, you get it early on in the game anyways, so don't even bother.
Rip.
It's like, come on. Visually though, this game is incredible. No matter what, even if the story was a total mess, like I think this might be one of the best looking games in a while.
One thing that really impresses me visually is that the way the game captures each world. So you get to the Toy Story world, and Woody's got, you know, those funky arms that move weird. And then in the Pirates of the Caribbean world, Jack Sparrow's got the facial twitches and all the cutscenes that he always has in the movies. It's really impressive.
Did anyone notice like the art style changes in every world too to match the movie? Like
it's very subtle, but it's there.
Yeah, like Olympus looks a bit more cartoony, and like everyone's features are more exaggerated like a cartoon. But then you go to like Tangled, and it's very, very much looks like that movie. You know, it's subtle, but it's cool, because in Kingdom Hearts 2 and 1 and everything, they didn't really do that except for like that one world where it was like Steamboat Willie. So it's kind of nice.
It is cool how they still sprinkle in little things here and there from the previous games. Like Steamboat Willie is kind of brought back in those mini games. I will say though, I didn't really see the point of having 100 Acre Wood again. I don't know if that's going too far past first impressions, but
that's in all the trailers and stuff.
Okay.
So.
The 100 Acre Woods world sucks. It's easily the worst.
Yeah, and this one, it took me like 20 minutes, and then it was done. And I thought, oh, I'm probably going to have to go back to it, like in the previous games. But it took me like 20 minutes, and then it was done. And I was like, oh, good thing all the other worlds are so long.
For a world that used to be where the concentration of minigames were, now that there are minigames and classic Kingdom games and all other manner of scores to get, it definitely seems superfluous.
Yeah.
I just can't wrap my head around why they made a 100 Acre Woods world without Eeyore.
Oh yeah.
Is Pooh in it?
Pooh?
Like is he featured? Because there was a problem in China where they had to scrub out Pooh. So I don't know
it's. I mean, this may be into. It's not really. You mostly interact with Rabbit, and
okay.
Pooh will get in one-liners about honey every now and then, but it's mostly dealing with Lumpy and Rabbit.
So it looks like it's easy to kind of cut him out if they had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You say it's mostly dealing with Lumpy too, but really Lumpy's just like a background character who exists to be British. I don't know why they went through the trouble of putting Lumpy in the game.
Because I guess it shows growth. Like the world has grown a bit. I'm not really sure.
No, it doesn't have Eeyore. It's ungrown.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of a waste of time because at least in 2 and 1 the mini games are balanced out. Find the page and then go back to it. You wouldn't have to like sit and do it all in one run, which was nice. And there's the one mini game just sort of experimented with 3 separate times, and I was like, you get a Keyblade, and there's not even any chests if I remember correctly to open. It's just one instance. It's not even like you're going around in different places. And I was like, that was a big waste of time. I could have just not had that and been fine.
Well, we can talk about the worst mini game of all time right now, and that's the Gummy Ship.
I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm really enjoying the new Gummy Ship mode.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
I was going to say the Gummy Ship was probably the biggest improvement, and I absolutely love it.
I'm just so bad with it. I tweeted that video of me hitting every wall, and that's every time I get in the Gummy Ship.
Video. You need to put more wings on that thing, otherwise you're going to have garbage movement.
Wings on a ship, who'd have thought?
I hated it until I saw last night. Someone was tweeting, someone made a gun with a hand holding it as their Gummy Ship, and then another person made a toilet. So I'm like, I kind of want to make that gun.
Yeah, I've seen all kinds of fantastic. I think there's now like even a subreddit for Gummy Ship creations. I've seen people have like remade Final Fantasy characters. I've seen a video of a penis ship flying around.
Perfect.
It's fantastic. It's all amazing.
I saw a Gummy Ship that was a dog, and that's my contribution to this.
You can just get animals as items to add stats. There's like a dog riding a skateboard. That was a big one that was on our Kingdom Hearts as well.
Like, I think my favorite Gummy Ship creation that I made is my teeny ships. I had one that was just all blue and shot guns, and I named it Sonic. And then I got this pair of Knuckles, and I just made it red and just called it and Knuckles. So those were like my 2 teeny ships.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm never gonna finish the game because I'm gonna spend 8 hours making a handgun in it instead.
Honestly, flying the Gummy Ship was really weird at first, but after spending a little bit of time with it, I really enjoy it now. It's weird. It's nothing like I've played in a long time, at least. Like it's really weird, but it's cool how they made it open world, but they also implemented like the battle system from the previous 2 games, which I didn't hate. I don't think a lot of people loved the Gummy Ship in the previous 2 games, but I think in 2 it was all right. It was passable. And they still kept that in and kind of improved on it while making it open world, which is really cool.
My biggest gripe with the Gummy Ships at the moment, and I love that they've put a progression system in. There's things to collect in the world as well as completing the missions. My biggest gripe is that you will see the Heartless ships flying around. There is no way to tell what ones you have completed and what ones you have not from that open world. So I'm going through and trying to clear them all, but I just have to keep flying around and hope as I fly into a Heartless, or I can see the Heartless in front of me, go into my menu and try to because after you've beaten it, you can put a mark on it to guide you to it if you wanted to replay it. So if there's like 5, and I've already completed 4 and I'm just looking for that last one, I could go into the menu and enable tracking on each of them one at a time and see whether this Heartless ship in front of me manages to pop a track. If it doesn't, then I'm good. But aside from that, I've probably redone all of the gummy missions at least 2 or 3 times. It's like a saving grace when it's like, okay, I've finished all of the 1 stars in this area, so I now know that I can ignore that.
I feel like I messed up with it, where the first time I got out on the gummy ship, I ran into a boss that was like this giant star, like huge ship, and it took me about 4 tries to finally kill him, and I barely beat him. I don't know if maybe I just like was outclassed by it, or it would have been nice to get like a warning that said, hey, you're not ready to fight this guy.
Yeah, I've had some of my gummy battles take a really long time too. It's hard to tell if I'm scaled properly or not. Like, at least the worlds, it tells you what the level requirement is. In this, you just sort of go for it.
There are actually, for the level 5 boss, for the level 5 Heartless in the gummy section, at the very first beginning, it has a big, like, sandstorm around it. And I tried to fly into that with my first ship, and it was like, oh, your ship isn't fast enough, come back later. And it turned me around.
Oh, that's nice.
That's pretty good then.
I will say that since you guys mentioned difficulty, the gummy ship part of the game is the only part where I've actually died.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've died a couple of times in that, too.
Same here.
I still have never died.
Oh, look at
Damn.
you.
The inclusion of, I mean, talking about difficulty, the inclusion of the Moogle coin as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, a free extra life. It seems like they're taking an easy game and already making it easier.
Yeah, because, like I said, I died at the beginning in that first fight, and then I got used to it, and it was just kind of like... I wish this game was just a little bit more challenging, because like you guys said earlier, you could just sort of spam everything, and like you said with the coin, it makes it almost just too easy. Like, I don't think I've died aside from that first time either, aside from the gummy ship, of course. And even when you die in the gummy ship, you just like restart right from there, or you can just abandon the battle and it's as if nothing happened. Like, I'm surprised at how non-punishing this game is. Like, that's really surprises me.
Most of my deaths are because I went from Spider-Man to this, and the button layout is totally different. So I'm dodging instead of attacking, and I'm jumping instead of like interacting with stuff. It's just really, I hate that I can't remap the attack buttons, and that's kind of screwed me a lot. Because it's just weird attacking with A or X and not attacking with square, you know?
Yeah.
At least for me, it just seems really kind of backwards.
Do you guys feel like the combat deck kind of like neutered? Like, obviously there's only the one menu now, like you can't switch between multiple menus, but like I kind of miss the forms, like the drive bar. I prefer that over what they have now. Honestly.
I don't miss the forms much, but I do miss the command deck or the whatever it was called, where everything had an individual cooldown, because that made me use abilities way more than the current system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like I'm only using it's cool, like how you have to build up the that bar like above the combat deck to get the new moves and everything like that, but that gets kind of old pretty quickly. Like you said, I miss having like the ability to go in and like do all these different moves and everything. Now I feel like I'm always just using an attraction or something like that. Also, do you guys know if you can switch between those when you have like 3 queued up?
Yeah, it's the
L2.
L2 or left.
Oh,
Oh, thank God. You can
Lets you shuffle through all of them. Also, another thing, which is great that you guys circled back to attractions, is that if you go into the settings, you can change attraction animations and form change animations from full to short.
Oh.
So if you're tired of seeing the same animation of, you know, Sora's Keyblade turning into a shield over and over again, you can have it so that it won't do like the zoom in on you, see everything that happens. You know, Sora will explode with power and it will change, but you'll still be completely in control.
And while we're sharing words of wisdom here, I also found out that if you do a transform, like if you change with your Keyblade, and then you switch to another Keyblade, it pauses the timer on the first one. So if you wanted to like maintain that form change when you're like running between battles, you can do that.
Whoa.
Oh wow.
That's awesome.
I've been like sprinting and hoping that my those like seconds won't go down, just so I can at least like be powered up in the next fight, and I get so annoyed when it goes away.
Oh, there you go.
Or I hit a cutscene. It's like
I've also you can do that to the like next level of, because you can swap between the 3 Keyblades, which is a really awesome thing to be able to do, because of their like upgrade forms are so unique from one another, that you can use that to stack 2 transformed abilities, and then have a third one ready to go. You go into a battle and you can start off cycling through 3 powered Keyblades for some really heavy damage right off the bat.
Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Keyblades and the transformability and all that, thanks to this is the first time I'm still seriously using the Kingdom Key like this late into the game, because normally I just swap for whichever Keyblade says most strength.
Oh yeah, I do like that a lot too, because normally when you're playing these, you get a new Keyblade from the world you just beat and you switch to that one, and there's no reason to like use another one unless you're doing a very specific situation. And in this, yeah, you can keep using whichever one's form you like the most, which is really, really cool because you can upgrade them.
Yeah, and just upgradable in general. That's a fantastic thing to have in the game. I'm honestly surprised that it's taken so long for us to be able to add extra stats to a Keyblade.
I like that they all have different gameplay mechanics with them too. Like the what's the Keyblade that turns into guns? It's pretty good for just like long range, if you just want to like kind of float in the air and not get hit. So when I'm getting beat up, I'll like switch to that one so I can just kind of go away somewhere. Because Donald and Goofy don't do shit as usual.
Yeah, but they don't die all the time, which is nice.
That is true.
Like, I don't think Donald has died for me once. Everyone else, the companions die a lot compared to them, actually.
Speaking of the companions, this is the first time that they don't have to be swapped out with someone to be in your party, which is kind of nice. I always hated like losing Donald or losing Goofy because, like Jack had to join or something, and I don't know. It's personal preference.
Having to keep them around for Trinity moves and everything was kind of annoying. It's like nice that you don't have to worry about any of that.
It's also cool that the party cap is kind of huge now. Like if you're in the Toy Story world, you've got Sora, Donald, Goofy, and Woody, and Buzz all at the same time.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So what does everyone think of like the attraction kind of attacks?
I kind of hate them.
Really? Why?
It's nice knowing now I can skip the animations. I might do that, but for the most part, they kind of seem like, I think was mentioned before, they kind of feel like, hey, press the triangle button to win attacks, except they're also weird mini games, and also they're not much fun to use.
Yeah, and you get to a point too where you kind of outscale your attractions, I feel like. Because now I'm like toward the end game, and I just feel I could get the same thing accomplished by mashing a couple magic spells, and I'd be good.
Yeah, I agree. And also, this might be bothering me more than it should, but is there any reason for why you can do this? Like, what is an attraction skill?
Well, the reason you can do this is because there's no reason. Yen said Disney spelled backwards, that's why.
Because they wanted to be able to like have people go, oh my god, you can ride Big Thunder Mountain when you're fighting the first Titan.
Oh, okay. This is something I did want to bring up. You just reminded me of that. So the first world, like you guys said, is a fantastic introduction. I was in love with Olympus. I feel like none of the other worlds are even close to as experimental. Because remember when you have that shield move with Goofy to like go over the fire, and they're like, oh, in the worlds you're going to have a lot of moments where you can use like your squad mates' moves to get around. I don't think there's been one other time when there's been a move like that. I could be mistaken, and I'm like halfway through the game now. Like I feel it, and using like the roller coaster attraction to fight the Titan, there hasn't been anything else like that. that I can remember. Like, I feel like there's been a lot of cool things in Olympus, and while the other worlds are still kind of cool, they're a lot more like traditional. There's not a lot of extravagance and like really cool, unique moments like there were in your first time through Olympus.
It's a shame that they do put such a fantastic foot forward on Olympus, considering that that's still Kingdom Hearts 2.9 anyway.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot it says that.
Yeah, 2.9.
Yeah, Olympus is fantastic, and it definitely, the other worlds do other things in different ways. I think it might just be that the changes, everything that they did with Olympus was classic Kingdom Hearts on crack. And then the other worlds kind of experimented out in different ways. For the attractions, I really like them. My biggest gripe with them is that they shouldn't be like won a battle. There shouldn't always be a Heartless that will let you, get the attraction. If they sprinkled that in and made it feel like a reward, feel like an extra powerful summon that you could use under very certain conditions, it would be great. They kind of ruined the pot by adding too much in, though.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they were like how in Kingdom Hearts 2, Mickey is really rare when he shows up. Like if they were just kind of like this clutch moment, and it, even if the story kind of made it where it just kind of beats you down and then it's, you summon the Buzz Lightyear ride, the Astro Blaster thing. Like it just would have been nice for those to be high moments in the game instead of just spamming it every time I fight a Heartless.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you could do it every single fight.
And I do love that they're literally the rides at the parks, but they just change the names. Because
basically,
like you get in the ship and it literally is the same ship you're on in the Buzz Lightyear ride. And then you're getting the points just like you would in same with like Big Thunder Mountain. Like that's the same train, but they just made everything look like the Electric Light Parade.
Mm-hmm. Kingdom Hearts 3 is basically one big advertisement for Disney World.
Yep. So since we're almost hitting like an hour soon, let's just do the highlights, lows, and then the last thoughts. Does that work for everybody?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything anyone wanted to cover before we move on to that?
I've got a whole lot that I want to talk about, but I'm going to wait until we do this with spoilers included.
Yeah.
And when you guys have caught up and finished the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to be on that spoiler cast.
Same here. Sam, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I want to add that Goofy says fuck.
Oh yeah, bring that one in.
What?
Yeah. So does Sora.
Yeah, I actually saw that clip. That was a weird one.
Yeah, it's in the Pirates thing, and the audio is kind of messed up or something, but it looks like Sora like knocks down a ship and he goes, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah, I'm playing Pirates now, so I'm gonna be looking for that.
It's yeah. So I guess like what's everyone's kind of personal high from this game so far? And to try to stay away from story things. Don't just be like, I like the ending. What's the I can start it actually. For me, it's I like the idea of like these attractions in it. Even though they get kind of annoying because they do take forever to jump into, and now that I know that I can skip it, that'll be great. Would have been nice if there was a prompt saying that in the game, but like I don't know. For me, it just kind of makes me smile every time because I go like, "Hey, that's this ride." And then I also like being able to summon that fat dog from Dream Drop Distance. That for the longest time I didn't know that you're supposed to puff him up with air and then ride him around. So I was like, why does he have this attack where he's just like butt hitting everybody and it does no damage?
Gotta get big.
Yeah.
Get thick.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are the highs for me, which are probably the worst highs ever in a game like this. But I mean, everything else is great, but a lot of it's story stuff, which we can't get into here. So
a big high for me would be how fluid the combat and moving around the world is. That they've made a bit of a trade-off by choosing to still include flow motion. I don't think that flow motion is as relevant when the worlds are so large. Because, like, in Dream Drop, when it was introduced, that was on the 3DS, much smaller system, and you could abuse the hell out of flow motion. But, taking away the ability to, like, infinite wall jump, but instead giving us running up walls and running across walls, or, having to fight over a fiery pit because we can keep bouncing back to the wall over and over again. It just seemed like the combat was a lot more fluid, using physical attacks, swapping to spells, hitting a wall, jumping off it, coming in with a combo. There's so many options. It felt like watching the way, the Final Fantasy fights are in like Advent Children kind of thing. Like, you don't need to touch the ground. That's awesome.
Yeah, a big thing for me is definitely the keyblades in this game. I mean, we alluded to it earlier, but just that the fact that they all feel different, that they're all viable even toward endgame, and that when they transform, they're all super fun to use. Like, I'd love to talk about them, but I don't want to like spoil the surprise for people who are still playing through the game. But there's pretty much no keyblade that I hate.
I'd say for me, my highlight is that this game it does not stick to one genre, which is really fun. Like, you'll get to obviously there's all the action stuff, but then you go to the Tangled world and you dance. You go to the Toy Story world and it's a first-person shooter. You go to Monsters Inc. has a weird third-person cover shooting segment that was a thing. But at no point is it easy to really just pin down this game's genre, and it's kind of great because it managed to handle each of these with really well.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. I think that all of the little experiments in each world are cool. I'd have to say one of my big highlights is actually the Remy minigame. I really, really love doing the cooking and trying to hit excellent on every single recipe. Surprisingly, I didn't think I would like that much, but it's actually really fun. And then also, I mentioned it earlier, but just seeing like Twilight Town like recreated was absolutely awesome. That was probably the key moment in this game, that and like playing through Olympus. And I hope that they kind of bring back those unique Kingdom Hearts worlds later on in the game. Like, I would love to see Hollow Bastion and everything. I hope it's in it. Just because those worlds were awesome, and seeing them like recreated with all of this detail and everything is awesome. Like, I love the detail in all the worlds and just how they look. I think that's absolutely great.
So actually, a quick lore thing, isn't Hollow Bastion in the game? It's just Radiant Garden now, and like, you don't walk in it, but like you talk to the scientists.
Yeah, it's where Ienzo is at the moment.
Yeah.
And Mickey and Riku are there a lot. I think, at least early on, they talk to you from there.
I guess to add one thing, I do like all the Mickey and Riku parts, just because it's kind of cool seeing them do something and like what they've been doing in the games, and it seems like they're doing all the work, just like all the other Kingdom Hearts, where it's like Sora, Donald, and Goofy are having these fun adventures with Peter Pan and Elsa, and then Riku and Mickey are fighting the actual bad guys and doing all the legwork. I think to go on to what, oh my god, is that really the Dragon Ball? Is that Shenron you just posted?
What?
I'll cut that out. No, in Slack, it just popped up on my screen. The comic ship that looks
random
like
channel.
Holy shit. Anyways, that's just so impressive. It just totally threw me off. So the thing that I kind of don't like in this game is, and it's really dumb, but the fact that they populated a lot of these worlds with like people walking around and other humans. Nobody seems to comment on the fact that Sora, Donald, and Goofy can like run up walls and become these like invincible battle gods. It just would have been nice to have like one throwaway line from like a random person that's not a main character. That's just like, oh, that's kind of weird that you can do that.
Oh yeah, like Like when you're climbing walls in Assassin's Creed and people are like, "Oh, look at that freaking nutso."
Yeah, just something. Instead, they're just like, oh, I guess I'm gonna go have some sea salt ice cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that weirdo with the big key.
Yeah,
I did notice they did make a quip about skateboarding in Twilight Town. When I was running around, one of the side characters was like, "Oh, I guess skateboarding is passe now." So that would have been cool if they had a few more like quotes like that based on what you're actually doing.
I have in Twilight Town. I've also heard in the background people say like, "Oh, have you heard of the Seven Wonders?" So they do have like a couple of little throwbacks.
I noticed in Twilight Town there was one person was like, "Hey, where's Cypher?" And someone else like, "Oh, they're on vacation. Nobody cares."
Has anyone breakdanced on a barrel yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like at least I like that where you do that and people go, "Wow, he's so impressive," and they clap.
They give you money.
Yeah, it's like stuff like that's kind of cool, but it would have been nice to just have a little bit more the world feeling like kind of reacting to Sora, or at least like, you know, the Heartless come and tear through town and then go away, and then everyone just goes back to like doing what they were doing. You know,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna open the store and watch a movie outside. It's like this tornado of death just came through, and no one seemed to notice.
Yeah, but there's no reservations at Tiny Chef's Bistro.
That is very true.
Yeah. And everyone's always like, "Can't believe we got a seat," and there's like 5 tables open.
It's such a dumb complaint, but it's something that like in games it really bothers me, and it may be because I like came from Spider-Man and Red Dead, and then came to this, where it's like, okay, this doesn't feel as thought out in that regard. I mean, granted, this is also a game where a mouse is a chef, so working for a duck.
And a king.
True.
King, yeah. They do sort of do that with Sora, though. I noticed, like, one of the first things I noticed was when I was Sora, I was running into Donald and Goofy, and he was, like, kind of reacting to them. Mm-hmm. So I think there's a lot of that detail in with them. Or, like, I love how Donald and Goofy, or even, like, your companion characters, comment on things all the time now. And some of it's even useful, like when you're looking for the lucky emblems, they're like, "Oh, there's probably one over here." Or like Goofy was once like, or Donald was like, "How do we get out of here?" And Goofy was like, "Oh, Sora can run up that wall." That's really nice and cool, I think. I like that a lot, because that wasn't in the previous games, probably just because they didn't have the space for it.
Yeah, their banter is definitely significantly better. And they feel more like friends because they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even pose when you try to take a picture of them, which is kind of cute.
Oh yeah, I love that. Even like other characters, like Zeus does it when you're supposed to take a picture of him for like the photo mission. The photo missions are cool too.
Those are cool.
Zeus will flex.
Yeah.
Weird flex, but okay.
There's so many mini games in this game that you don't even like. The photo, I totally forgot. Like that's its own mini game. And
yeah, mini games are great.
All right,
Also,
so
I love how they replaced the mushrooms for just flan now. Like those like weird mini bosses.
Oh yeah,
the flan are cool.
Yeah.
The
awesome.
flan was one of the reasons that I was saying that you could that you would want to go back to the worlds.
I noticed I've done most of the flan missions during my first run through of the world, actually, which is interesting. I remember that was not the case in the previous games with the mushrooms.
When you did them and you get like cooking ingredients from them, if you get a certain score for them, then you get abilities.
Oh. Okay, that is a good reason to go back to them.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Sam, what did you not like?
all right, so I only noticed this recently, and maybe this will change in the later levels. There are not a lot of Disney villains. When you finish Hercules World, you don't fight Hades, you fight those Titans, which I guess count as a Disney villain. Then you get to the Tangle World, and oh, Mother Gothel, she turns into a Heartless, fight a Heartless. Then you get to Toy Story, and oh, here's a big Heartless. And every world ends with like, oh, here's a big Heartless. And it feels weird because I went back looking through the other games, and every time you had like unique fight against Disney villains. And as far as I can tell, and I only know this because it's in a trailer, I think Davy Jones is the only Disney villain you fight.
So what I'm hearing here is that in the Tangled world, Sam would want to beat up an old lady.
Yes.
That's what I was saying. I like that you're taking a little bit of a backseat to the actual movie story. I also like that when you're in Tangled, Donald yells at Sora for almost revealing. Oh no, it's in Toy Story for almost revealing like who they are and why they're there.
Hmm.
You know, little lines like that kind of help. Because if I just started with this game, like I'm sure a lot of people are, it would be like, wait, why can't I tell, Woody that I'm this Keyblade wielder?
I think that with the bosses being heartless bosses is that these are also like, in Aladdin's world you fight Jafar because Jafar was actually an enemy. But when you have like the Toy Story world, I mean, I guess they could have put Zurg in, but there's no the conclusion of those movies doesn't happen with a fight, unlike The Lion King or anything. Tangled ends with her cutting her hair and the mother disintegrating. Hercules had a fight at the end, so they could have a fight at the end. I think it's really just that they're working within the limitations of the story and putting stuff in where they can.
That is a good point. Like more modern Disney movies don't have like a big bad guy that they fight at the end. It's usually like a concept that they're dealing with. Like in Toy Story, it would be weird if at the end of the game, Sora, Donald, and Goofy have to fight growing up.
I don't know. I think the 100% could have put a Zurg fight in though.
I want Zurg to be like the Sephiroth of this game.
Yes.
Like a secret final hidden boss somewhere.
Well, if this takes place after 2, though, they couldn't really fight Zurg because he's like their buddy.
That's true.
Then you can fight what's his face, Lotso.
But they didn't meet Lotso yet.
Oh my gosh.
The
Toy Story timeline is so convoluted.
They do a good job, like tying into the movie worlds, like with Monsters Inc. I don't really want to spoil it, but what they do with Monsters Inc. I think was really, really cool, and stuff like that.
For sure.
Robert, what do you have any discrepancies with the game?
Yeah, I mean, the attractions are probably the biggest thing I'm not a fan of. They got old real quick, and then they kind of don't scale with you, so you don't really care about using them toward the end, especially. And other than that, I sometimes feel like the combat, while it's really fun, it kind of feels like they throw too many options at you, where within the span of 20 seconds, you'll have a form change and maybe grand magic and also an attraction and also a team attack. Like, there's a lot riding on the triangle or Y button that it kind of is overwhelming sometimes, or you just kind of stop caring about it almost.
Yeah, I noticed that just the scaling in general is sort of weird, and I think that it's because this time the worlds are so big and the battles are so, like, you fight so many Heartless now, as compared to the previous 2 where the fights were like quick. You just like plow through the world. They were really quick. Here, like Toy Story, running through one of the floors just to search for a chest, you probably get in like 10 battles, 11 battles. And that just keeps happening over and over again. So I think that's part of why it feels like everything is getting old so quickly, because they didn't really scale the combat or like getting abilities with how big the worlds are now. Like last time, you get everything so quickly because you could plow through the worlds, and you can't do that so much this time. I feel like they haven't nailed that balance properly. Like you said, it's still really fun, but yeah, there's so much of that stuff, and it gets so repetitive because you do all of it in like a span of 10 battles. You've done your focus, you've done all of the form changes so many times, the attractions, and it just doesn't really scale properly with how you progress through the world.
Yeah, it's a pretty good point. I guess because I'm early enough, so for me, like, I haven't run into that problem with like scaling, so all the attractions seem like awesome, but I'm sure in 10 hours I'm going to be sick of them and probably not even use them. It's kind of like in the previous games, like Magic, for the most part, you kind of stopped using near the end because your physical attacks were faster. At least it was for me. Like I stopped using magic pretty much near the end, besides like Kurega.
Yeah, especially in 2. Magic sort of took a back seat in 2, in my opinion.
All right, so let's just go to final thoughts, and then we'll wrap this up. Who wants to start with this one? Just kind of your final thoughts of the game overall.
Hi, my name's Sam. I'll go. Hi, my name's Sam. Here's my final thoughts. It's a video game.
Wow.
Yeah. But for realsies, it's really fun. But also, if I have to listen to another anime character talk about darkness, I'm gonna shoot myself.
Looks like you're not finishing the game then.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, well, rip me.
My final thoughts are my favorite thing about the game so far, and this isn't really spoilers. It's just that there's a constant thread when you're going through all these Disney worlds of all the Disney characters just kind of like not believing in the whole darkness stuff. They're just like, what are you talking about? So it's like really stupid. And it might be my favorite thing just because the whole story is really stupid. And it's just self-aware about it.
The greatest thing in the game is Buzz basically saying like, yeah, this is stupid. Can you go home, please?
Yeah, basically.
True.
Like there's a line where Woody's like, I don't know who you are and I don't care. Get out of here. It's so good.
I think, while I can't go as much into talking about the story as I want to, the story did what I wanted it to do. And gameplay-wise, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of variety, and it's just fun to play. It's something that I've beaten the game. I want to go back and collect all of the things, get all of the high scores. It's making me continue wanting to play after I've got the story. And that's big for me.
I think for me, it's the fact that it's lived up to my expectations and my hype, considering that pretty much everyone's been waiting for this game for 13 years now. And I was afraid that it would come out and just not be good because anything that sits in the burner for that long tends to just it tends to just be crap. And like I wrote that article about like pretty much everything that's happened since the game released, and it's like the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe came out. Smartphones became a thing. We've had 2 console generations. Online gaming has become more prevalent. Like there's so much that's shifted, and I was afraid that like this game would still feel like it should have come out in 2007. I mean, some of the dialogue is definitely very 2007, but it's so good that I'm glad that it's met my expectations and definitely exceeded them.
Yeah.
Except for the jumping ship.
I actually just thought of this the other day. Like half of the voice actors from the earlier games between 2 and 3 have died. So, like Ansem the Wise was voiced by Christopher Lee. He's dead. Xehanort's voiced by Leonard Nimoy. He's dead.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine about this game, and he's like, so many people have died waiting for 3 to come out. And it's like, man, that's a good point.
But it's okay though, because Sora can see dead people.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's in jail.
He's grown up. Did he?
He went to jail on for a year on a drug charge, I think.
I don't think it was Haley Joel Osment. I don't think he ever went to jail. Did he? Let me look this up. Hold on.
I wouldn't be surprised. That dude's weird.
Yeah, he faces jail time on DUI possession charges.
Wow. Well, Sora was getting in the darkness for a bit.
He was driving the gummy ship while high.
I'd have to say my highlight, like my final thoughts and everything, is similar to Nick's, where this game it entirely lived up to the hype. The 10 years of playing it, and that's apparent within the first 20 minutes of playing it. I noticed the entire game is sort of like this big flex. You waited this long, but here's why. For example, the game going from cutscenes right into battle, without a black screen, just a simple transition. It's the game just being like, yeah, we waited this long, but this is why. This is what we can do now. and the worlds being so big. I think that that's really, really awesome. Like this game,
Hearing-
despite
hearing-
like its weak downsides.
Hearing all of you guys talking about how it's lived up to your expectations, and knowing that you guys are like halfway, a little bit past halfway, a little before halfway, man, I can't wait to talk with you guys after you guys have gone through another 10, 15 hours of gameplay.
Hell yeah.
I just thought of this actually, but that cutscene transition thing is almost ripped straight out of Final Fantasy 15. And then I realized with the companions talking, with the cooking, they learned a lot from Final Fantasy 15 to put into this game.
Yeah,
Dude, even the
not to
menu
use that engine.
reorganization.
Switching weapons. It's very much Final Fantasy 15.
This game is basically Final Fantasy 15 too.
Totally.
Even Riku kind of looks like Noctis, but with white hair.
He does. He really
that's,
does.
That's something that they lean into with that Yozora character in the Toy Story world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also can say that this story, like, I still don't have a lot of, or the game still hasn't gone into a lot of what this main arc is going to be. Like, it's still picking up in that regard, but I just have this feeling that it's very confident in itself, even if it does get convoluted. Like, I can tell the story is going to deliver, and like the game is very clear about that. Like, I have no doubts about that, even from the start. Like, you can tell they're just like getting you warmed up and everything, and that it's going to deliver. And hearing Stretch say that like it does deliver is like nice to hear too. But like you kind of just have this feeling that it's going to do that anyways, which is really, really cool. Like it does a really good job setting itself up, and I have a feeling that I'm going to leave very satisfied.
To kind of add a last point to my point, it feels like the devs are better at storytelling now, because it's very, like, in the previous games it always felt like not rushed together, but it just was never that. Like the story was really good, but it wasn't presented that well or that interestingly. And now it, like, watching the Tangled cutscenes, like I'm getting so involved in that story. Like when I watched the movie Tangled, I didn't give a fuck about it, but like playing it, I'm like, oh, this is so sad. And then like going into like the stuff with the Heartless, like, or not the Heartless, like when you see Organization 13 guys pop up, like you go like, oh, this guy's here, it's gonna be bad news. And like their presentation overall is so much better, and it's really making this game pretty great.
Yeah.
I think unless anyone has anything else they want to say, that pretty much wraps it up. So I'll.
He says fuck.
Yeah. Actually, we can end it on that. So the last spoiler is at the very end of the game, Goofy looks right at the screen, and he pauses for a minute, and he just says "fuck you," and then it goes black.
I believe it. This is 100% canon now. I'm not even finishing the game anymore. I'm telling Alex I'm writing the review based off of that.
Just that. Yeah, throughout, when you replay it in critical mode throughout Toy Story, it says this is canon. Just it pops up on screen every couple seconds. This is official Pixar sanctioned canon.
I'm just imagining like the credits is just an endless scroll of various pictures of Tetsuya Nomura flipping off the camera.
It's just his belt collection and his jackets, and just never ends.
This explains why the whole Hercules introduction just kept saying a game by Hideo Kojima.
But anyone out there, if you haven't played Kingdom Hearts 3 yet, get on it. If you never played any of the other 12 games that came out before it, don't worry about it. Just fill in the blanks with your mind, your imagination.
There you go.
That's the message of Disney.
All right. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.